Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? I hope the sound's all right. I've been buggering around with my microphone there and I had to unplug it all and seems like it's a bit knackered, but hopefully you can hear me. It's a bit small, isn't it? Let me zoom in there. hang on. Technical difficulties. I'm a bit of a boomer, as you know. What's the date? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. It's the 2nd of November. Huzzah! Only 3 days away from remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I see no reason why, if a plumber called Dave did it in 2024, I would laugh my tits off. That's how weird the world is, isn't it? It's a very strange thing, political tribalism, because at this point, with the overtly hostile British government, the likes of Keir, two-tier Keir, the commie propagandist, locking nice old women up for tweeting whilst letting pedos and galloping nonces do as they please. At this point, I'm overtly hostile to the British government. Is that a problem? Is that illegal? I don't know. You can be hostile to your government, can't you? And I can't overtly praise people that partake in acts of aggression towards the state. But I can point out that if Guy Fawkes 2024 was a thing and he was a plumber called Dave from Leeds, I'd piss myself laughing. If Keir ran out of Parliament ablaze, I'd be sat at home howling, laughing. So, that's all right, isn't it? It's still a free enough country where you can point and laugh without getting in trouble, isn't it? Yes, I did call it months ago. I know. I take no pleasure in constantly being right. Although, no. I do take pleasure in constantly being right. Sorry, that's incorrect, that. What's this? Check your X, Matt. Hang on, then. I'm on X. What do I have to check? I get so much crap on here nowadays, I don't even know. What did you send me? There's loads of good stuff on here we can cover anyway. We'll do some of that, shall we? Anyway, I hope you're all doing all right. 300 here in already, so that's not bad. Baron Flight has been watching trigonometry. Example is a study on homosexual pigs. I can now believe anything. I've been believing anything for decades. I've been believing anything since the much maligned Nigerian Spice Girls that I keep talking about. I've been believing anything for ages. Nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing surprises me anymore. If Prince Charles did the King's speech and he came out clippity-clop, dressed up like one of those leather horses, you know, them like weirdo gimp suits, but you're dressed like a horse. If he came out with one of them and a bottle of Radox bath soap in his ring piece, I wouldn't be that surprised. I'd be like, 2024, innit? And then he started spanking Camilla over his knee. But it wouldn't even surprise me. I'm like, do that nowadays. Not that weird. King Sausage Fingers in a gimp suit, rogering his missus on the national television at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Day. No, normal. Bog standard in this day and age, isn't it? So here's a good tweet to start the day with. Look at that. This is Exhibit B. No, not Exhibit B. Exhibit 4,376 about what's gone on in the world when the mind-melting hypocrisy of the brain-dead woke see no contradiction in these things, do they? When men pretend to be women, totally fine. Even though loads of bad things can happen as a result of that, can't they? J.K. Rowling proved that. Lefty arsehole for 45 years, however old she is. And then the second she says, maybe the big skinhead with the face tattoos shouldn't be sharing a cell with a load of birds, and all of a sudden she's Goebbels. So you couldn't make it up, could you? And there's another example. Nothing wrong with blokes in frocks going in the women's prison, but you can't have the kids dressing up. No. Jason Lays, give me an 8 and sender. Thanks very much. I had to reorder those Rington's tea bags at the post office. Did you? To be fair, if you did, they at least are getting more efficient at telling you they've lost all your shite. Because when I send anything, if it doesn't get there, you just have to resend it 3 weeks later. To be fair, it's only happened once in the last, 2 years? Which isn't bad, because I've probably sent about I don't know, 12, 13 people, art and stickers and shit like that these days. And they've only lost one. So that's not too bad, is it? That's not too bad for the one-legged, um, partially sighted, navigationally challenged Royal Mail postal worker. Who else is in? Loads of you. What about the important people that are members of the channel? Bill Beebe's in now then. Che Wilson, how are you? Resistant Geordie, one of the few base Geordies in the world. Mr. Maximum, Neil Young, how are you doing, Richie Davies? Yeah, the Geordies are mad, aren't they? I told you, this was something that came up when I was still in the car because my mate John Ram, he's a Mackham, and there was another lad, I can't even remember his name now because he never got out of training. There was two lads who I met in the car who I was pally with, and they were both hardcore sort of like Labour fans. And I remember one of them, I think it was Ram a few years after, he was whinging about the the amount of asylum seekers that had turned up. He was like, well, you can't even go do the two now, like, without getting costed by loads of Marlies, like. And I was like, well, you voted for it. What are you mourning for? You can see why the Angry Bootneck gets punched a lot, because British people are not as genteel as the Americans. And I love taking the piss out of people when dumb shit like that happens to them. He was like, two full of Somalian pirates, like. And I was like, well, you voted for it. Well done. You got what you asked for, lads. And it's beauty in it, like the way they are nowadays. This woke thing's weird where you get working class people. They're definitely not in the majority. The majority are middle class arseholes. But because the mainstream media have done such a good job conditioning people, you do get some of them that are working class, and then they don't realise that they're voting against themselves in every way you could possibly imagine. Oh, we've got a new member, Stu. Get in, Stu. You'll do for me, son. Now you're going on the important person list. Well done. Jason Lee, how are you? He's not a Geordie. He's from the posh end in Durham. There isn't a posh end in Durham. There's just Durham. There's no posh end in Durham. That's like saying I'm from the posh end of Middlesbrough. Doesn't exist. The posh end of Middlesbrough is slightly less on fire and covered in shite and burning tyres than the rest of Middlesbrough. There is no posh end. It's only when you move to America you know what a posh end looks like. Or maybe like London or the home counties or Cornwall. Same with Manchester. Makes me laugh when people say I'm from the posh end of Manchester. You're having a laugh, aren't you? I've been all over Manchalabad. I haven't seen a posh area. No, nowhere in the middle of Manchester. Maybe on the outskirts somewhere, one of them little villages where all the posh people live, but nowhere in Manchester. You're having a giggle, aren't you? Anyway, I apologise for slagging off postal workers. Richie Ayrton's given me a couple of quid for a pack of Natural Light and a box of Grecian 2000. I don't drink Natural Light when other people buy it for me. When other people buy it for me, I feel like I can splurge. So thanks for that. I'll buy something that doesn't taste like fizzy piss. Much appreciated. Right, shall we do some, instead of doing Oxbridge pleasantries all day, shall we go through my Twitter feed and then I'll start doing some news? First of all, let me just briefly talk about this shit show, right? Now, the real problem I have with this is, I've said this many times in the past, don't confuse less bad for your mate. Do you know what I mean? If there was a bloke in your local who frequently beat you up whenever he went for a piss and robbed you and he was a smackhead and he stunk a piss and there's nothing good about him, just because he isn't in one day and there's a toothless, one-eyed homeless man who stinks of shit, I mean, he's merely that bad, doesn't mean he's your mate and you're going to go and sit and play dominoes with him for 2 hours, does it? You're going to sit in the corner and avoid them and hope the other one doesn't turn up, and definitely stay away from the crusty guy. That's basically Kemi Badenoch. Do you know what I'm saying? All right, she's not Keir Starmer, but Kemi Badenoch, if Keir Starmer is the crusty, jizz-covered tramp, Kemi Badenoch's the sort of slightly weird bag lady who walks around the council estate with a bucket with a face drawn on it, talking to herself. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, it's slightly, I'd rather rub shoulders with her than the bloke covered in crusty spunk, but it's a low bar. It's a low bar. John Hunter, thanks for the 8. Instead of crikey, I'm coining it in these days. You can see imagine how much money people make when they've got like 10 million YouTube subscribers. You'd be getting like a salary. I don't even want to know actually, because it's depressing, because I don't think I'll ever get to 100,000. Whenever I feel like I'm on a roll, Suza, they must do a Ouija board in YouTube HQ, and then Suza returns she rises from the grave and punches me in the dick. But thanks anyway, it's much appreciated. Basically, Kemi Badenoch. The fact that all the Conservative Party have done for the last 3 days, and obviously there's a picture of her in front of Klaus's forum, should tell you everything you need to know. The Conservatives have spent the last 2 days going like, oh yeah, the Labour Party talks about smashing the glass ceiling, but we do it. Yeah, we've got a black. Look, check the black out. Here, have a look at this black. Come on, check it out. So, what is that? It's woke light, which is what I told you before the election, and which is what I told you a year ago, which is when I said, I can't believe I voted for the fat albino jellyfish. It's never happening again. And I don't care if we see the communists in Downing Street. When did I say that? Must have been 2 years ago. I voted for Johnson, and then he did what he was told from the globalist psychopaths. And then I said, okay, I'm turning my back on him, and I'll see the communists in Downing Street. Seems like, well, it's not particularly prophetic, is it? Because when it's something like an election, it's not prophetic because millions and millions of people doing the exact same thing. But that's obviously what's happened. And I'm sure everybody in this chat saw it coming miles away. Like, that's what we did. We said, you know what? Tories is just slightly less shite than Labour. So I may as well just, who cares? It's not going to make that much difference to your life, is it? I mean, honestly, I know Starmer's been bad, but it wouldn't have been that much different, would it? They would have crushed everyone during the riots. Maybe there'd have been a few less jail sentences and maybe a few more Joe Dackies that have got sent down. But other than that, it would have been the same. So who cares? Who cares? And now they're proving me right again. Look, chaps, we've got a black. Like, they're acting like Al Jolson's on the stage, aren't they? Quick, push out of the front. It's unbelievable. And the fact that they're using all their language proves the truth of what I'm saying. They are Labour, blue Labour. And they're bragging about it now. Look, we've got a black. Oh, look, we've got the queers now. Yay! Go on, nosh him off. Like, that's what the Tories are like now. If Robert Jenrick thought he'd get the leadership by tugging Boy George off on the 9 o'clock news, he'd have done it. The Tories are exactly the same as Labour. They're using all the same language. They're bragging about how many women prime ministers they've had. Oh, look, we've had 4 women prime ministers. So you're just using the rules of engagement set out by the Labour Party. You shouldn't even talk about the women prime ministers. You should have said, Thatcher never once went on about how good it was that she had a pair of threepenny bits. We reject your entire toxic, poisonous, dog shit, society-destroying commie ideology. But they're doing it. So just to make the point, there she is, World Economic Forum. She's just Keir Starmer with tits, as far as I'm concerned. She's going to do nothing. The only thing going for Kemi Badenoch is she's about 4 times as clever as David Lammy. Sweaty Lambtron. In fact, I'm going to post on that somewhere. Where's that? See if I can find it. Oh, I have to show you this. The post was just like, I believe I said, Kemi Badenoch's used knickers have got a higher IQ than David Lammy. How long have I been on? Have I been long enough where I can show this? And YouTube won't instantly slap me. Oh, there we go, 15 minutes, right. Watch this. I was howling at this based old granddad. I don't even know how I found it. Whoa, that's pretty loud. I'm going to turn that now. Look how funny this is. I was pissing myself laughing. It came up on my burner YouTube account, so I don't know. My burner YouTube account's got a lot more sense than me, because this video came up out of the blue. I've never heard of the channel. I was amazing, but yeah, watch this. I was pissing myself laughing. Here we are. I was amazing. Apologies, I can't. It's a short, and shorts look shite when you're. Is that better? Here we are. Yeah, watch this. I was creased watching, laughing at this. There, that's it gone.
How do black people misbehave?
They do cry, they beat up everybody, do traffic violations.
So, just to get started, it's how do black people misbehave? And this old bloke goes, they do crime, they beat up everybody. I mean, I don't agree with those broad brushes he's painted in, but it is funny. It's funny as how you get to about 80 and you just become zero fucks given, don't you? You get to about 80 and you just go, you know what? Might keel over soon. Who cares? Say whatever I want. So this is brilliant. Look at this. Keep these shorts.
How do black people misbehave?
They do cry, they beat up everybody, do traffic violation. They're lazy, just collecting money from the government, don't take care of their children. They're good, singing well, and
everything's straight. Look at that. He reeled that off in about 3 seconds there, didn't he? It's like they do cry, they beat, they do not, they get traffic violations. That's not a stereotype I've ever heard. They get traffic violations. Like, personally, I wouldn't have bifurcated crime and traffic violations, but it is funny. Is that they do the crime and the traffic violations. What else? Tell us what else they do. Tell us what else they do, Grandad.
playing sport well.
Okay, so this is lazy skin.
Yes.
You know, I'm a white woman.
No, you're not black. You have the lips of black people, everything black.
Oh, what's black about me? What's my lips are black? How about my eyes and my forehead? And listen, I have white woman hair. Look.
My head is such hair. It's difficult.
What does that even mean? My head is such hair. It gets better. It gets better.
To get control of it. She many times wear a wig.
You like when black people wear wigs?
They have no choice. I'm all the time with
They have no choice. That's amazing. Why do they have to? Why do they wear wigs? Got no choice. Got no choice. You can't possibly walk around. Again, I do not. I want to stress, I'm not saying this just to not piss YouTube off. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that all of them have got bad hair or anything. But I like the way he just says they've got no choice. Like if they walk outside, they'll burst into flames like a vampire unless they've got a wig on. Anyway, come on. Finish up, Grandpa. Pull up a chair and listen to Grandpa for a bit more.
black people. I have at home. I have my head.
And she's lazy.
Yes.
Have you told her that she's black and lazy?
Why I should tell her? She know.
Is my ass like a...
Right, if you haven't watched this from the start, she says, do you know anything about black people? And he goes, of course, I have one at home. I have one at home, like, I don't know, in a drawer, I don't know. Unless he means one of the old Robertson's gollies on his fridge. I don't know what he means, but yeah, I've got one at home. And she says, oh, does she know that you think we're all lazy? And he goes, yeah, she knows. Of course she does. I tell her all the time. You know he does as well. You know he does.
A black woman?
Yes.
Do they look like criminals to you?
In their free time.
My dad's white.
Okay, so
In the free time. So they don't do it professionally. They just do it in the free time. God,
half
finish.
white. What do you think about that?
Still look black. The hair and color. You need a couple more generations.
To take out the blackness? How do black people misbehave?
Yeah, so I mean, that is overt racism, the like of which that I wouldn't promote. However, as I've said, the reason I show it right is not because obviously I agree with all the stuff the guy said. I'd show that because it's a vision of a bygone era. And I think we were in a much better place in the 90s when people used to have a bit of banter than tiptoeing on eggshells all the time. I always said this. My old fella, he's typical old bloke, right? He's like, what? I don't even know. How embarrassing is that? I don't even know my dad's age now. I think he's 76. I might be wrong. 75, 76, something like that. He is not homophobic or racist in the way that he doesn't dislike anybody. He genuinely doesn't. And in moments where we've been very drunk and he's getting a bit maudlin in his old age, he said to me, I know we have a crack about the puffs and that, son, but I'd hate it if you were actually a cruel one, you know. And I was like, yeah, I know, Dad. You know, and that's the point I'd like to make to anybody who's like woke and sees stuff like that and is just filled with like rage. It's not that big of a deal. Leading on from the kids dressing up as Native American things, it's how people bond. Like, I'm cruel to everyone in my family. I don't think I've ever said anything nice to me dad. I've never said anything nice to my brother. We torture each other. The more close you are with someone, the more you rip the piss out of them. And it's especially men. But, I mean, women as well, to an extent. It's how people bond. It's how people get on. And I really do think having a bit of what the left would call racist banter or, you know, mockery, gentle mockery, ribbing, is really way better for race relations or gender relations or continental relations or anything else. We take the piss out the French and the Germans. To me, it'd be condescending if we didn't take the piss out of everybody regardless of anything else. You know what I mean? If you can take the piss out the French and the Germans and your bird, I mean, who doesn't take the piss out the missus? You'd be like, put the kettle on, slap her ass, you know. It's like, it's not serious. If it was serious, you'd get divorced. And I know all the boomers, all the Gen Z stay married for about 2 weeks these days. But banter is how normal people bond with each other. I frequently say relatively sexist things to my missus in good fun. And she takes the piss out of me. And it's the way of the world. And I think people who take themselves too seriously are just miserable bastards. And it's why the woke are such miserable bastards, isn't it? All the time. All the time. All they do is whinge. So that's why I shared that. Daddy, you came back. Obviously, I genuinely, and I know this will annoy the more right wing of my followers, I genuinely don't think that, you know, the hair is appalling to look at or anything daft like that. It's generally, as I've said to you, my opinion is you can tell that we sort of killed all of the race arguments and the gender arguments in the 90s and the 80s, can't you? Because the argument I always tell everyone is, like birds, oh yeah, better be a man here, patriarchy. Would you rather be a tall, gorgeous, highly intelligent middle-class woman or a little dumpy, fat, ugly, toothless, thick as shit, scruffy bloke in a council estate? You know what I mean? It's not even hard. And it'd be the same for a bloke. Would you rather be like a buff, handsome, 6'2", highly intelligent black fella or a little fat, dumpy ginger dwarf? I mean, I think that everybody knows the answer. You know how you'll get on in life. And generally, it's your IQ, your charisma, and your work ethic. And yeah, there's going to be changes in the numbers because I do think that. Again, I'm a man of science. You're probably more likely to be high IQ if you're from a Northern European country. And I think that the reason for that, right, is it's controversial to talk about, but even that, there's science, isn't there? That Charles Murray wrote a book all about it. I believe it's a combination of like evolution and diet, like our early childhood diet. If kids get like good nourishment through all the formative years, when they grow up, the brain's more well developed, which is why like Italians have got high IQ. And my favourite, the old Marleys, are all thick as shit. Because if you spend your formative years sucking on leaves and chasing rats through the desert and biting pigeons' heads off, you're not going to have the same IQ as a bloke who's on a Mediterranean diet. That's acceptable to say, isn't it? I mean, you know what I mean? No, I'm not saying all Marleys are thick as shit. I'm just saying you're more likely to be thick as shit compared to some, you know, Italian genius. One of the cleverest blokes I ever met was an Italian. Federico, my old pal from work. He was a clever bastard, aerospace engineer. And old Gentili was an Italian, wasn't he? Loads of switched-on communists come from Italy. Woodlander disagrees. He's a short, fat gnome who lives... a short, fat gnome who lives in the woods. Prefers that. Okay. All right. We'll agree to disagree there, mate. I think I'd rather be a buff, handsome, 6'2", high IQ fella in America who happened to have a bit of a tan than a short, fat gnome who lived in the woods. But each to their own. I do admire the Woodlander's work ethic and his grand plan. So if you haven't subscribed to the Woodlander, go click on his profile and go and say hello. Right, anyway, that's enough about the race bollocks because I've had enough talking about it over the last, 10, 11 years. What else have we got? Here it is, Ragnar. What's this? I don't like, the problem with Ragnar is he's got no filter, and I'm concerned that if I play a video and it happens to be what appears to be possibly a middle-aged man getting a good shoeing off a bunch of swarthy gentlemen, it may get my channel banned. But what they're doing, filling him in. Yeah, I can't really show that, can I? Yeah, you'll get me in the shit, Ragnar. It appears to be a swarthy gentleman kicking the shite out of a poor old drunk. We won't bother with that. Look at this. I was arguing with some proper shit for brains, some stereotypically bog-brained twat here, who was arguing about me saying that the ethnic minority percentage in the UK during the Blitz was less than 0.005% or something is the best guess. And he was like, nah, there was loads of them. Walking through the London Underground during the Blitz was like walking through Compton in 1998. Remember when all the rappers were from there? City of Compton. It wasn't, mate. And then his argument was completely deranged and didn't make any sense. It was like trolling has to be funny, and he didn't even manage that. So I'm not really going to go into that too much. But yeah, he was saying to me, "Oh yeah," he was having a go at everyone saying, "Are you even English? Are you even English?" And I was like, "I'm more English than you soft shandy drinking Franco-Norman twat," because his profile said London. And he went, "Ha, I've done you. I'm from Ireland." And I was like, "I've done you." What, lying about where you're from on the internet is doing someone, is it? It hardly makes you a card shark. Jesus. Diddy of Compton is definitely the reason why everyone's coming out for Kamala, innit? Definitely. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. Oh, here we go. I've watched this one. This one's funny. And unlike many of Ragnar's posts, this is actually PG-13. So we'll watch this one. You can watch that while I have a drink, because this is humorous.
The people who run my campaign, they've made this commercial, and I'm in it. This campaign, it's not about me. It's about crafting a version of me that'll appeal to you. A version that visits random work sites with paid actors pointing at things. A version of me that doesn't find old people loathsome or pointless. Has a conventionally attractive yet curiously still family. Listening to my constituents, legislating, these are things I don't do. What I do is spend about 70% of my time raising funds for re-election. I'd do anything to stay in office. My name's Gil Fulbright, but hell, I'll change my name to Phil Goldbright, or Bill Fulbright, or fill up my mouth with farts. These are the things that are important to me. And these are the fine people that finance my campaign. Now, in order to do these things, I have to stay in office. And to stay in office, I have to keep these guys happy. Now, if any of these things make these guys unhappy, well, my hands are tied. So come November, the choice is clear. Do you want another spineless mouthpiece for special interest and lobbyists? Or a spineless mouthpiece for special interest and lobbyists? I'm Philip a Mouth with Farts, and I approve this message.
That was good. I like the way he says, "I don't find the elderly loathsome or pointless." That's a good one. Although better than Biden biting people's babies, isn't it? Vikings off tonight. I'm hitting this the Black Oak tonight. Diversify the Black Oak. Fair enough. Don't know whether to laugh or cry right now. Definitely laugh. Definitely laugh. Rum and Diet Coke. Trump 2024. I'm still drinking beer all the time. Maybe that's why I'm starting to be a fat knacker. It's getting a bit depressing. Every year it gets harder to not become a fat knacker, doesn't it? I used to be able to train 4 days a week and then go on the piss 3 days a week. And I got to about 30 and I dropped it to 5 and 2. And then I got to 40 and I dropped it to 6 and 1. And now I'm down to if I piss up more than twice a month, I get tits. It's terribly depressing. It's terribly depressing to a northern man who clearly has the alcohol gene. They say inside every fat man there's a skinny man trying to get out. Well, inside me, a salaried sort of white collar guy who works 50 plus hours a week. Well, I suppose 60 if you include YouTube. But there is an alcoholic. There's a degenerate alcoholic trying to get out. I'm a salaried 60-hour-a-week working man, but there's a homeless bagman desperately trying to get out and hang around the bus shelters in Eston, going, "Best man, how you doing? I'm your best mate. I'm your best mate. I fucking love you, man." Anyway, so that's a bit depressing. What else have we got on here? There's loads of good stories to talk about. I haven't even got onto the election, really, have I? There's tons of shit. In fact, should we start doing the election stuff? Right, let's do some of that. Look at that from Ricky Gervais. When you can't remember the journalist's name. German bender. That's a good insult you don't hear very much these days, isn't it? You never hear anyone get called a bender anymore. When I was in primary school, everyone was a bender. And Vikings just moved to Thailand. Are you saying you've just moved to Thailand, or are you saying you can get old and fat and you can still pull birds because you're in Thailand? Probably the latter. Yeah, there's loads of good stories that I've shared. This is another right. Look at this. I'm going to talk about this right. When we were bairns, they used to tell you that you shouldn't lie because it's immoral. Remember them crazy times when they used to tell us not to lie? I think the last 3 months, as this election season hots up, I've seen more lying, brazen, outrageous, in-your-face lying than in any election during my entire life. So, and I'm 45 now. It's beyond the pale at this point. And what I don't understand is, at least in the old days when people used to lie, they'd always try and be slightly more covert about it. They'd lie, like Biden, but he'd do it on the campaign trail. He'd go to a red state and say, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely not going to get rid of your guns. I love guns." And he used to do that thing. I told you what I hated about Biden. I'm using past tense because, he's dead to me, and fortunately he's going to shuffle off the mortal coil soon enough anyway. But I hate that about him, how, like most dumb people, he thinks he's cleverer than he is. And one thing that Biden's always done is fake outrage when he gets caught lying. Because that's what a dumb person thinks is a clever, convincing lie, isn't it? I know a few people who are compulsive liars. Not my family, but in-laws. I'll just leave it at that. Compulsive liars. And when you get a compulsive liar like you, the dumb ones who just lie constantly, and they lie constantly, the type of person who everyone knows as soon as he turns up at the pub, everyone's like, "Fucking hell, here he is." Wouldn't believe the radio. They do that thing where they pretend to be upset. They pretend to be outraged, fake outrage. And Biden has always done that, and I hate him for it. I hate him because it's insulting. I hate him for his dishonesty. And I really hate him for his high opinion of himself. He's a stupid man. And he always does that. And I told you my favourite story about him of his fake outrage when he was in Texas or whatever. I think he was in Texas. He was at a Democrat rally saying, and I'm quoting him verbatim, he said, "You're damn right, I'm going to take your guns, and this is the man who's going to do it." And Beto O'Rourke comes out on a skateboard. It's fucking cringe, right? And then the next day, he goes to Pennsylvania or wherever, a swing state, and there's a lot of pro-gun people. And one of the construction workers pulls out his phone and says, "You said you're going to ban guns." And Joe Biden did the fake outrage thing. He gets all fake upset and he goes, "You're a damn liar. You're a damn liar. How dare you say that about me? I never said I'm going to take guns. I love guns." And the bloke goes, "Oh, yeah." Click. And then he's got him there going, "You're damn right, I'm going to take your guns." And he's the man who's going to do it. And then Biden just goes, "Here," and shits himself and just leaves as fast as you can do it. But because he's a bad liar. He's not just a constant, dirty, lying, self-trimming, thieving, slimy career rat bastard with a dirty, slimy rat bastard son and a dirty, slimy rat bastard brother and a massive, dirty, slimy, lying clan of bog-brained fucking shit for brains. Right. He thinks he's clever. That's what I hate the most about him. Self-trimming, slimy rat that he is. But in this has got worse now. Because they're not even doing it like... Because he's thinking he can get away with that. Because he's going off boomer politics. And he's thinking, because think about it. In the 60s, in the 70s, if you lie your ass off at a campaign rally and then fly 2,000 miles and say the exact opposite of everything you've just said, nobody knows. The activist media cover for you. And in the 70s, they didn't have mobile phones or internet. I know that sounds surprising to anyone under the age of about 25, but they didn't have mobile phones. They didn't have the internet. They were literally communicating by like landlines and snail mail. And it's like, so if he contradicts himself that brazenly in the 70s, it's fine because nobody hears about it. So at least he would do that. He would fly 1,000 miles and then lie his ass off. But now they know that everything's on Twitter, and they know everything's on Facebook, and they know everything's on YouTube, and they know that the activist hack media are doing worse than they've ever done before. And X is the number one news network now. It's the number one place people go for news in many nations in the West and many nations elsewhere around the world now. And they still do it. This week we've seen Tim Waltz go on social media and say, "Oh, Donald Trump said that all Puerto Ricans are garbage." And this woman, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and assume she's a paid actor or she's a Democrat activist and she never ever had any intention of voting for Trump. Because seriously, and I'm asking the chat in all seriousness, what percentage in this day and age of people in America don't have a Facebook or a Twitter account or go on YouTube? And what percentage of people do you think genuinely believe Donald Trump said randomly at a rally, "All Puerto Ricans are garbage"? Do you think anybody thinks that? But these people just repeat it happily. And Tampon Tim is there going, "Oh, did you hear what Donald Trump did? He was at a rally and he said, all Puerto Ricans are trash." It was a professional comedian making a joke. It wasn't even Trump. I mean, it wouldn't have been that bad if Trump said it and it was his joke. Because it's a joke about current affairs. Because Puerto Rico's undergoing a trash crisis. It's been in the news for weeks. That's why the guy said it. It's been in the news for weeks. They can't get rid of the shit. And a comedian makes a joke about it and they're all like, "Oh, yeah, it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump said Puerto Ricans are all trash." So do you believe any of this? I was leaning towards Trump, but not anymore. Those comments at Madison Square Garden changed everything. I have to stand on the right side of history. It was a joke. It was a joke. And he didn't say it. A professional comedian said it. What do you mean, right side of history? What do you mean? Fucking right side of history. Why are comedians always on the wrong side of history? Are they? How many comedians was shoveling them into the gas chambers? They were like that, the Gestapo were like, "Well, hang on, lads, take a step back. Charlie Chaplin's got this," and he comes down with his cane. Ooh, pushing them all into the chamber. Lock the door. "Oh, you're a good lad, Charles." It's not comedians doing it. What are you talking about? The right side of history? Was it Buster Keaton? Turning on the Zyklon B taps, was it? It, it's just a crazy time to be alive, isn't it? The right side of history, yeah, opposite the comedians. Yeah, damn those comedians and their genocidal ways. Yeah, Bernard did it. It was all Bernard's fault. The Second World War, Bernard's fault, that. So it's a fucking crazy time to be alive, man. Mr. Viking, I'm glad this guy moved to the States. Please see Europeans come. Yeah, well, we need more. I've said this many times, not blowing my own trumpet, but I've never had a single penny in dole. When I left the Royal Marines, I lived off my savings for about a month, and then I got a job. I've never been into a dole office, never signed on, never had a penny, never had a council house, never had any benefit I can think of, child tax credit or council tax credit or nout. I remember, in fact, from being a young bootneck, and then leaving when I was like 29 or 30, and having never paid council tax, because, I lived with my dad till I was like 18, and I joined the Corps when I was 19. I'd never paid council tax before, so I left the Corps, found a job, found an apartment in York, and then got a bill off him like 6 months later saying, you owe us $2,000, shit for brains. And I was like, oh no, that was a bit of a punch in the dick. And then I was skint, drinking Tapaline and eating Aldi noodle doodles for 3 months or something. Never had a penny off the government. And I left. I got out as soon as I could. I was pleased to leave because I felt like the government was taking the piss out of me. And that's the type of people who are leaving. And I guarantee in Australia and New Zealand and Canada and all the other Anglo-state countries where people are buggering off to, it's people like me, people who worked from the age of 16 and never took a penny out the public purse without earning it. Because I've had wanker socialists go to me, oh, you're in the Marines, so that makes you a socialist. Like, oh yeah, okay then. That's the shittest argument I've ever heard. Like, is there a country in the Western world that hasn't got a military? You're in the Royal Marines, therefore you're a communist. Well, what's the most right-wing American administration we've ever had? Reagan? Was there an army when Reagan was in? If you're in the army under Reagan, does that make you a communist? I mean, it's the shittest argument ever. And the point I would simply say is, well, if we didn't have an army, we'd have to hire mercenaries. So you're welcome, I saved you money. Yeah, no, I would as well be. Definitely. But what I'm not trying to blow me on trumpet. All I'm saying is the people leaving are people who worked their entire lives, and the people coming in are parasites. Abu Hamza. Do you think Abu Hamza was a net positive financially to the United Kingdom? Do you? But what about Sadiq Khan? Hasn't he just been on the public tit his entire life? A non-producing parasite? Everyone who works for a living leaves. And all the shitbags who move in have got about as much interest in doing a day's work as they have in, doing a 14-hour shift in the coal mines. They're not interested. So, yeah, you're welcome. Cheers. So that's a blatant lie. There's one. I can show you loads. There's absolutely tons. There's absolutely tons of mad ones. That made me laugh about early voting in Georgia as well, because they're going on about all the women are voting for Trump. All I'll say to this is, Trump's winning quite handily in Georgia, and it's mostly women voting. So that tells you, I know this is going to blow your minds if you're a left-wing arsehole. What does that tell you? That tells you women are cleverer than you think they are, and you can't just constantly talk about abortion and they're going to go, oh, I better vote for Trump then. And B, it tells you that they're a little bit more concerned about big, hairy-arsed bricklayers in frocks going in the women's prisons, going in the battered wives' shelters, going in the women's spaces, competing in the women's sports, punching the women in the face in the cage fighters, or maybe even sexually assaulting them or killing them. Maybe they're more concerned about, the safety of themselves and their wives and daughters than they are in some nebulous shrieking about Trump's going to stop us getting an abortion. I mean, even if he's all he said is he doesn't care about abortion, he's going to leave it to the states. Worst case scenario, you live in a proper red state and they make it very, very hard to get an abortion. Well, then get a bus, go for a drive, hitchhike, panhandle. You'll be able to get one still. What do you think the Irish spent 50 years doing? What do you think they did? A lot of Americans don't know this. I'll educate you. It was illegal in Ireland for decades. So what did they used to do? Oh, well, it was a tiny bit harder. You get the ferry to Liverpool, they vacuum your piss flaps, and then you go back to Ireland. Easy. So if you're a woman, a young woman, and you're genuinely concerned about getting vacuum in your gussets because you're an absolute spunk bowser, you can get one still. If you put some effort in, you can get one. So on the one hand, you've got, I'm trying to be, what would you call it? Generous, and think maybe it would be quite a big deal to me if I was a young woman, right? So on one hand, you've got, okay, I'm a young woman and I do want to be able to get an abortion. And as I've said to you lot, I'm not an old school conservative. I'm pro-abortion, I am. Again, we're conservative-minded people, so we can disagree. It's fine. I disagree with many in the chat, I'm sure. But I don't care about abortion. I don't. I've been a non-believer my whole life. I think most of the concern about it comes from religion. I don't think it's a good thing. I have scorn for women that get knocked up all the time. And I think they should be rare. But I do think they should be legal because I don't believe that it's that big of a deal. I think ultimately the sentient young woman's feelings take precedence over a 10-week ball of cells that certainly is a prospective child, and it is, quite sad. But I don't really care that much. Like I said, if I was a bird worrying about getting knocked up in America, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe slightly more difficult to get an abortion is a minor concern. But on the other hand, let's say I'm a swing voter. Okay, slightly harder to get an abortion, minor concern. But on the other hand, you've got insane woke communists demanding that you accept men builders in frocks in all of your spaces, all of your sports, all of your segregated areas. Swimming baths, changing rooms, women's restrooms, everything. Are you honestly going to tell me that maybe possibly needing an abortion that you'll have to put a little bit more effort in for is going to trump all of that shit? Like you're there having a piss and there's a bloke in a frock wanking watching you and you're like, at least it's easy to get an abortion. You're having a laugh, aren't you? I don't want to be wiping my meat canyon and then look to my left and there's a geezer pulling his pudding in the women's toilets next to me. Or I'm trying to have a piss in the women's toilet and there's a fucking builder in a dress snapping one off 2 foot away from me, going like that, like a proper hairy ass geezer, and he hums because you know what men are like. If I was a bird, sharing a toilet with a man would be more concerning to me than almost anything else to do with women's rights. Men are horrible. Men are horrible. Do you want to share a bathroom with them? I feel sorry for women. The bloke's bathroom at work, there's piss all over the floor, there's piss all over the seat, there's snot in the sink. Blokes are minging. Birds are clean. That'd be a big one for me. If I was a lass, I would not want to go into a restroom with a man. Abortion, if I really, really, really need one, I'll be able to get one. I'll put some effort in, I'll go and get one. But I don't want a bloke snapping off a foot of brown cable 6 inches away from me. And American cubicles are weird, by the way. There's another one that Americans don't get. The restrooms in America, for some reason, the cubicles are totally different. Cubicles in England, the doors are very neat and they're all quite well made, and they go all the way to the floor. There's like a gap of about 3 inches at the bottom. In America, you sit down to have a shite and there's like a 2-inch gap next to the door and there's like a 3 foot gap at the bottom. So if I was a lass in a women's restroom having a shite and there was blokes in dresses wandering about, it'd be horrendous. You'd look and you'd see big hairy calves under the door and you'd hear them going, tugging themselves off, and you'd occasionally glance them looking through the hole in the door. It's horrendous. Like birds' toilets in America, you don't want a geezer in there. I don't want to see just a glance of a calf and it looks like a fucking Chewbacca's forearm. That is definitely not what I want to see if I'm a lass. So, to me, if you're a woman, you'll be voting for Trump. On the one hand, you've got slightly harder to get an abortion, and on the other hand, you've got pro-Trump in about 50 different categories. Sports, spaces, rights, education, everything. You're better off if you're a woman under Trump. Trump is the women's rights candidate. Definitely. Definitely. You think all the people who got thrashed by Leah Thomas, do they think Trump's the woman's candidate? Because I think I do. Have you seen Leah Thomas? I was amazed when I Googled the vital statistics for the big bastard. Leah Thomas has got forearms like Popeye and a back like my granddad. A big, hairy, wiry back and size 15 feet or something. It's unbelievable that that's even a thing. So if I was a bird, there is you no chance of me voting for Kamala Harris. And the other point I'd say is Hillary Clinton wasn't popular. And Hillary Clinton was much better candidate than Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is thick as shit. Hillary Clinton's evil but clever. Kamala Harris does that weird cackle. Kamala Harris does that constant, proper weird thing where she changes her accent depending on who she's talking to. It's cringe. When she's talking to a black fella, she puts on like a really, really, really bad like roots style accent. Like she's well posh and middle class and Indian. And then she bumps into a black fella and she's like, yes, Batham. I'm a telling you, Batham. Like, it's cringe. Cringe. And I think that of every candidate they could have picked, they picked the worst. They'd have been better off with any other Democrat that shared the stage with her during the primary process. Any other one, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Tulsi, Bernie, Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg. I think out of all of them, Kamala's the worst one. So she's got nothing going for her. She's got nothing going for her. But I still reckon they're going to cheat. So who knows what's going to happen. Trump has every advantage compared to 2020. The early voting's looking better for him. Massively better for him. He's got a voice now because he's on X and Elon's got his back. He's got bipartisan support. He's got RFK Jr. He's got Tulsi. He's got lefties rooting for him. He's got women rooting for him. He's got a much bigger advantage, but they will cheat. So it's anyone's guess. The only chance we've got is if it defies all expectations and he wins by an absolute landslide, because they are definitely going to cheat. They are definitely going to cheat. So we just have to hope for the best. But as I said to you, I am not hopeful. Anyway, in fact, I'm going to show you that last one. Where's that video someone sent me with the cheating on? Let me have a look. I think Stell sent me that. They were blatantly cheating and there was a video of it. And I told you about that. It's I do get a lot of messages these days. I'll tell you what. Let me see if it's on. I'll see if I can find it on YouTube. Because this is worth watching. They're just cheating. Here we are. Look at this. My theory about this is that they did it on purpose. Because, you know, like they gloated about it on that Time magazine article that I shared and got banned for last time. I think they did it on purpose because they want to rub your nose in it. You don't accidentally press a button and accidentally air election results, do you? It doesn't happen. So I think they did it on purpose. So this is on the New York Post, 1.62 million subscribers. It's totally Jen story. I've fact-checked this one. It's the real deal. Look at this. This actually happened. It was during a sporting event. I think it was like NASCAR or something. Check this out and I'll blow it up a bit. Hang on. Right, now the key takeaways from that one you need to be aware of, right, is that you just know that it's all lies. All they do is lie. But first of all, is they said the numbers had been randomly generated, right? Now, this is modern digital equipment. You don't need to do a test. You just press a button. So it's bollocks. You don't need to test it. Secondly, if the numbers had been randomly generated from a pool of, if let's say they punched in like 8 million for the likely voters and it's random, if it's genuinely random, anyone who knows anything about an RNG knows that the numbers would be widely different from what's been reported there. If it was genuinely random, it could have been 11 to 89 or 50-50 or 1 to 99 or anything random, right? That old story with the lottery, you know, you're as likely to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as you are to get 21, 50, 44, 32, etc. So there's no way that's random because it looks just like a real election result. And secondly, look at those numbers. Look how, like, those numbers are what you would come up with if you were cheating and you wanted it to look realistic, aren't they? Because that's exactly like 47-52. That's about the realms of possibility of what you normally get. So that is just, and this is what I'm saying. So I don't believe that it was an accident. I think, just like that Time magazine piece, they want you to know what they're up to because they can't help themselves. When I got banned for reading that Time magazine article, we're in a better place 4 years later because there's now competition in Silicon Valley, thank God for Elon Musk. But the only reason that article existed was because they wanted to gloat about it. They're desperate to do it. So I think this was on purpose. They're going to cheat, and they want to tell you that they're going to cheat because they're rubbing their hands together with glee. As I've said, the communists are so spiteful and bitter and resentful. They like driving you mad. They like doing it. Not only do they want to cheat, they want to tell you they're doing it because they take pleasure in driving you spare. And that's probably a good time to end the stream because how many times have I told you? You have to reject resentfulness and bitterness and misery because it's a spite. You're circling the drain if you get as bitter and resentful as they are, which is why me, pissed off as I am, probably not as angry as the channel name suggests, Amma, because most of my shit is humour. I try to keep my sense of humour. I take the piss and win, lose or draw, even if foot-faced troglodyte Harris wins the election and Starmer's in power for the next 10 years, I'll always laugh, I'll always take the piss, and I'll never go on a protest and go, hey, maybe it's a protester. I'll go to the pub and I'll laugh at the state of the world until it all collapses in rubble around us. Because all you can do is laugh. If you turn into a boring, miserable, whiny, resentful prick, you're as bad as the big, fat, buffalo-arsed, head like a recycling bin, 12 bits of metal shit in your face, coach bolt through your tongue, shit for brains woke activist. So keep your chins up, have a crack, win, lose or draw, probably lose because they'll probably cheat, right? We'll all just get on. And things will slowly keep going down the plug hole, but I'll keep making jokes and we'll keep our chins up together. All right? I think that's a good time to end. Thanks to everyone for the super chats. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all on Monday. Until then, stay pissed and have a good weekend because they can't stop us laughing, can they? Eh? All right. See you soon. Yeah, more content for me. So, every cloud. See you later, chaps. Thanks for tuning in. Take it easy. Toodle pip.